Welcome everybody to today's webinar. My name is Jacob and I'll be presenting today's webinar. Today's webinar is all about the reseller account, how to use this new reseller account that you've recently purchased, or maybe you've had for a while and you'd now like to learn a little more about. Or you might be one of the few people that are attending that do not yet have a reseller account and you're just interested to see how the reseller account works and what you can do with it. Today we're not going to be talking so much about what it does, but we'd like to show you what you can do with the reseller account. So we're going to show you how to create a hosting package. We have created 3 already, but I'll still walk you through and show you how to do this. I'm also going to show you how to create a new customer account, both within the control panel, and how to set up client exec so that you can have this process completely automated, so somebody can come to your site and sign up for a new hosting account. To get started, let me start sharing my screen with you. Take just a minute for that to load. Okay, so you should now be able to see my screen. You'll see I've gone to Bluehost.com, I've logged into my control panel, and for the most part this looks exactly like the accounts that our shared hosting accounts use, with the exception of 2 things. One is this reseller tab, see right here, and the other being this reseller section. Sometimes we talk to different people here at Bluehost. They might refer to this as a brick or a shelf or a category. I like to just call it a section, just because that's what it is. It's a section of reseller related elements or tools. Before we really go into the reseller portion, or at least to the reseller tools, I'd like to show you a few other tools that will behave a little different on your reseller account. One is the domain manager. On a regular hosting account, the domain manager is where you would go through to add domains that you'd be using with your hosting account. In the reseller account, you're going to do that, and you'll also be able to assign domain names that you'll be using later on, that you'll be able to resell these to your customers. The domain name bluehost-resold.com is one that I'll be doing this with later on. As I go through and I show you how to create the hosting account. In the upgrades tab, this is where on a regular hosting account you would purchase add-ons for your account, which you can still do, but also this is where you can go through and you can purchase additional products that you would like to be able to sell to your customers. In the beginning I was running a poll and it was asking about this information and which of these products would you like to find out more about and which ones do we have available. All of the products that were listed in that poll are products that are available for you to resell to your customers. Is where you're able to purchase additional domains that can be used to sell to your customers. One thing I'd like to point out about the domains is that we're still in the process, it's just not there yet, of allowing for your customers to be able to sign up with new domain names during the sign-up process. Right now, you'll need to purchase the domain name for that customer if you're registering those domain names through us. You're also able to order the dedicated IP addresses and Postini, which is Postini, if you're not familiar with it, is actually owned by Google. It's what they use for their Gmail customers. So you're able to then go through and resell this onto your customers. We charge you $1 per month. That's what we charge our customers, so you can offer that at the same rate or give any sort of inflation you would like on that. The last thing I'd like to point out is the SSL certificates tab. The first thing I would recommend doing is when you sign up for your Bluehost account and you have your reseller account is log in, go to the SSL certificates tab, and come in here, and typically, if you haven't ordered this already, you'll see 4 different options. The second from the left is the free wildcard SSL certificate, and this is one that I would recommend. Well, this is the free one, so this is one I'm recommending you include in your account. What I'm recommending is that you install this right off the bat, because that way many of the features that your customers will need, like being able to log into their accounts, whether that be their cPanel account or their email account, rely on you having your SSL certificate installed. So when you first sign up for your account, log in and choose to enable or purchase that SSL certificate. You can come back here later once you've added hosting accounts to your hosting account, and you are then able to go through and purchase additional SSL certificates for them. Let's go back, let's go to the Reseller tab. While we're waiting for that to load, I'd like to point out two things. One is this feedback tab. The feedback tab is a great place for you to be able to get in contact with us. You can go and you can create new ideas, or you can vote on existing ideas. Also, after the webinar is over, there's also the option that once you've exited the webinar, if you don't just close the window but hit the end button, you're actually able to take and give feedback on the webinar as well. And this information is really useful to us so we can judge how we're doing as a company and how the webinars are going. So inside the Resellers tab, these are some custom tools that we've built for you. If you've used Reseller, if you've had a reseller account with anybody else in the past, you might be familiar with WHM. We still offer WHM, and this is an icon where you can click to get to WHM, and then you can be in the familiar WHM environment that you're accustomed to. If you haven't used it, this might be an easier way for you to get started and be able to perform many of the common tasks that you need to perform on your account. So like I said, today we're going to create a package, and we're going to be listing the customer. We're going to create a customer account. So to get started, let's create a package. So we're creating a hosting package. We've already created 3 of these for you. We have one that's going to be just HTML. It's just called an HTML package. And what that means is that your customer would not be able to create any databases. They would just be able to have static websites. We have another one that's titled MySQL. It allows to have all the features, including databases. And then there's one other called e-commerce. This is exactly the same as the MySQL, which really means they can do anything they want. They have all the tools available to them. But they're also, when they sign up with this account, it will include a dedicated IP address and an SSL certificate. These are products you would need to purchase beforehand, but that's really what the great difference is between the 3. HTML is really no databases. MySQL includes the databases. And e-commerce is a step up from that with the same features, but includes the dedicated IP address and the SSL certificate. One thing that none of these packages have enabled is the front page extensions. While front page really hasn't been developed for a good 10 years, Microsoft's kind of abandoned the extensions portion of it. We still offer it, and we think it's a great product, and it's really a good selling point that you can say, we're a hosting company and we offer front page extensions. So we're creating a package today that will include the front page extensions. I'll give my package a name. For the quota, this is the total amount of disk space that I can offer to my customers. My general rule is just to be a little generous. And if you don't know exactly what limitations to set, it's easier to slim down, to cut back on the amount of space you're offering than it is to go through and to increase the disk space for everybody and hear the complaints about how little space they're getting. So maybe set it to something like 5 gigabytes. It's a pretty good number. It's a lot of space that's allowed to them. It's almost it's a little over an entire DVD actually of disk space. For bandwidth, this isn't a speed as far as how fast they can transfer data, but how much they can transfer. So again, I would recommend just be generous. I'm going to set it to another 5 gigabytes in bandwidth. For the FTP accounts, some people are they have a desire to cut back on the number of FTP accounts just to make sure that the resources aren't being abused. What I recommend is if you're going to adjust this number, keep it above 10. Simple Scripts, which is a tool that can be used to install over 70 different open source applications, needs those FTP accounts to be able to make a connection. So at least have 10 FTP accounts, so that way Simple Scripts can continue to install programs onto their account. The next few are pretty self-explanatory. These are just how many email accounts and lists and databases they can have. For the domain section, for subdomains, part domains, and add-on domains, a few things I'd like to point out is, first of all, the difference between a part domain and an add-on domain is that an add-on domain will function as a completely separate website than as a part domain. The part domain is simply going to mirror or load the same website that is the main domain or the primary domain. So as far as when you're choosing how many part and add-on domains, again, you can be generous. It's always easy to cut back rather than hear complaints about not having enough. When you're setting a limitation for the max subdomains, what I would recommend doing is always have more, maybe a lot more, subdomains than add-on domains. Each add-on domain needs a subdomain to be created. So that if I were to create Bluehost, if I had the primary domain of bluehosttutorials.com and I wanted to create an add-on domain for bluehosttraining.com, that add-on domain, bluehosttraining.com, needs a subdomain. So I need to have more subdomains than I do add-on domains. So for this account, I'll just say give them 10 of each. And that'll be sufficient. I'm going to choose the front page extensions. And I'll just choose OK. And I'll create my package. This takes a couple seconds as that's created. What I'd like to do now is I'd like to go back and I'd like to create a customer account. To do this, I can go to the Reseller tab above where I went, or I can go to this drop-down menu. And here's where I can then see these different options and choose to create a customer account. So for the domain name, this is a domain name I already have registered. Create a password. For the email address, when I'm creating the account for them, I like to use an email address that's not associated with the primary domain name. That's because if for any reason, if I were to suspend their email and need to get in touch with them later on, email is going to be the easiest way, most often. And if I've suspended their email, they're not going to receive that email. Also, if maybe they've changed their name servers or done something with their domain name that's caused email not to work properly, the email is not going to be delivered. So I'm going to choose to use an email address that's not associated with the domain name that I'm creating for this account. Under package, this is where I said we created those 3 packages already, and then the one I created today for the front page package. And then I'll create the account. It's going to take a few minutes, so it's a great time if you have any questions to feel free to ask those. There's the chat pod over on the left-hand side. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask those questions. I might not be able to get to those right now. We might just save those for the end, where we'll have an open QA, and I can answer any questions you have, either about the Bluehost reseller package, what you're seeing now, or anything else you might have come across. So it'll take just a couple minutes. Okay, an account's now created. So I can see the domain name, I can then see their IP address and the username. I'm going to grab the username because what I'd like to show you right now is how the customer would log into their control panel and how to log into their webmail. Because they're not going to come to bluehost.com to log in, as they're your customers and not ours. So let me open a new tab and we'll log into this new customer's account. So to log in, just go to login dot and then your domain name. So in this case, bluehosttraining.com. They're going to log in with their username and they're going to log in with their password. Now if they were for any reason to forget their password, let me show you how to reset the password for the customer. Back inside your control panel, we need to go into the WHM. So we're going to log into WHM. Over on the left-hand side, there's account functions. We're going to go to password modification. We'll enter the new password. Choose the domain name or the user, and we'll choose to change the password. Now if the password's been updated, they would then try to log in again. So let's log in. And this is now allowed for us to log in as the customer. So now this is what the customer is going to see when they log into their account. So now that we're inside the customer control panel, you can see a couple things. Earlier I talked about how the account that we were seeing was the same as our customers. So this control panel, I'll show you, point out a few differences. Go back into the C panel. There we go. So this control panel, as it is now, is the same that our customers, our Bluehost customers on shared hosting will see. So as far as this is our control panel. This, on the other hand, is what the customers are going to see. So they're not going to see any notices unless you choose to add some sort of a notice, and the same with those tabs at the top. They also, I'll point out, they don't have a domain manager. So you're going to have to manage all the aspects of domains unless they register that domain name elsewhere. So they can see how much disk space and the bandwidth they're using, and this is information that's going to reflect what I've added in that package that I created for them. Part of the package that I kind of skipped over was the features list. Inside of WHM, you can set a features list that says which of these different tools are available to them. That way they can choose, or you can choose, if you're going to offer the Backup Wizards tool or the Spam Assassin tool. And that way you can turn off these different tools or features to them using the features option in WHM. Let's create an email account and I'll show you how they're going to log in. Create an account real quick. So for them to log in, they would open a new tab, and they would go to mail dot and their domain. Under their domain, here's the webmail page. And they can log in, and they have the same options for webmail clients that you do. This is really helpful because that way you know which programs they're using, so when they contact you for support, if I'm trying to figure out which one to choose or how to send an email, you can easily walk them through because you have the exact same email programs offered to you. So that kind of summarizes what I wanted to show you about the customer's accounts and how they're going to log in and interact with their account. What I'd like to show you now is how to set up Client Exec to handle the automated account creation. I'm going to try not to go very fast, but there are quite a few steps. So you can take notes now. Also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to record this, so I am recording this, so that I can take and I can cut out that portion and I can put it on our YouTube channel, and it'll just probably go up on tomorrow. And the YouTube channel is just youtube.com/Bluehost. Go back to the Reseller tab. I've installed Client Exec already, so I'll first need to disown this license. We do give you free licenses of Client Exec and WHM. WHM CS. So I've installed Client Exec in the past, so I'll just disown the license. It's going to disown the license. It'll remove that license, and it'll also uninstall the files. Let me choose billing. We offer both Client Exec and WHM CS. We've had better success, and we prefer using Client Exec over WHM CS. One of those reasons is that Client Exec does support the automated account creation, as well as when we first started using WHM CS, there were some security issues that were brought up with WHM CS. So we prefer to use Client Exec, that's what we recommend, and that's what we're going to use today. So I can choose the installation path. I'm going to leave this as members for now, just because that's what's going to default to. Enter a password for Client Exec. Okay, so Client Exec is installed. Let's go to Login. So hitting the Login button takes me to my domain, bluehostertraining.com/members, where I installed it to. This order button is where the customer would go through later to make this purchase. And let's log into the backend and let's set up the servers and the settings and the plugins so that it works properly. So we're going to choose the login. I've logged in here before, so it's remembering what my login information is. Make sure the email address is correct. The password, excuse me. Not saving. Let's try that again. So once I've logged in, I can see that it tells me the version I have installed. I can close this. So to start the setup, we're going to go to Setup, and we'll go to Servers. We're going to add our server first. So we'll choose this server. The server name can really be whatever you would like it to be. So I'm going to do Bluehost Training. The host name is going to be the actual box or server that you're on. To find that, you can come back over here into your control panel. You might need to expand these stats. If you scroll down, you'll find the host name is listed right here. The shared IP address also can be found over here. Scroll down. Here's the IP address. For plugin, I'll choose cPanel as that's what we're using. Let's go to name servers. I need to find the name servers. If you don't know what your name servers are, they are in your welcome email. But if you do need to find them, what you can do is you can open up the terminal or the command prompt, depending on which operating system you're using. We'll slide it out there. There we go. And we're going to do what's called a dig. So we're going to do dig, and then my domain name. This is going to return both the name servers and the IP address. So we'll add a name server. And we'll grab the second name server. Grab our IP addresses. We'll then go to plugin configuration. Now we get the username and the access hash. To find this, we need to go back to the control panel, but we need to go into WHM. So we're going to come back over to our control panel, scroll to the top in our reseller section, and click WHM. Again, I know I'm going kind of fast. If you have any questions, feel free to ask those. And also understand that tomorrow this will go up on our YouTube channel. And that again is just youtube.com/Bluehost. So under cluster remote access, we're going to choose set up remote access hash. Here's the username that was needed by client exec. Here's the access hash. You can also generate a new key. I'd like to point out that if you hit this generate new key button, you will need to update client exec because it won't match. It's going to store your old key. The failure email address is anytime there's ever any sort of a problem, this is where it's going to send the email to. It's going to send the error message to this address. So in this case, we'll use just bluehosttutorials.com. We'll update that. Go to Setup. Let's go to Settings. There are some settings here, such as your company URL, your company name. Which isn't really vital for the automated account creation to set up, but since I'm here, I'll just update it. And then you just scroll to the bottom, you choose Update Settings. One thing you want to do is you'll want to make sure that your email information is up to date both in support and billing. Again, it's not going to really matter for the support side for the email to be created for when you're setting up the cPanel setup, or excuse me, the account creation setup, but we might as well since we're in here. Just update settings. Billing, we'll update it here as well. And these do need to be valid email addresses on your hosting account. Go to sign up. One of the problems that WHMCS has that we've been able to fix in Client Exec is that our servers or our system requires that each username be different. That includes your customer's usernames. So you're not able to choose what the username for your customer will be. It's going to be automatically created by our system. So what you'll need to do is scroll to the bottom and choose not to prompt for the domain username and password. And then update the settings. Now let's go to plugins. And we need to enable the well, I don't see it now. Order processor. Sorry, the location's moved. You'll need to enable the order processor. And you'll choose yes to enable it. And then update settings. You'll then need to choose a payment processor. I'm going to just use a check, since this is just an offline thing that I'm using right now. You'll see that a few of these are going to be set as offline, such as the money order, the credit card and bank account are both offline, so I'll choose check. Yes, it's available in the sign up, and then I can customize the sign up name if I would like, and update the settings. So this is everything that needs to be done in the backend before I can then go through and do the sign up. Everything that is except for actually creating the product that we're going to be selling. So for this one last step, let's go to setup. Go to product/add-ons. Now just for the sake of time, I'm going to edit an existing product rather than creating a new product. But the steps are for the most part exactly the same. So I can choose the product group, which hasn't quite loaded yet. Let's refresh the page. Here we go. Just for the sake, I'll choose standard. The product name, I can name it whatever I would like. Choose front page. I can put in a description here. It doesn't matter what I put. This is just going to show up underneath the product name. Pricing and stock controls, where I can specify what the price will be. Under advanced, I'm going to associate it with the server. Associate with the Bluehost training server. And now I need to find the package name on the server. The easiest way is to come back into WHM. We'll edit a package. And then I just like to click on it so I can copy the product name. And then choose update. So now we've set up the order processor. We've set up so that yes, it will process orders. It will process orders because we're doing an offline transaction with a check. It's not actually going to order. It's not going to order this transaction because I have to manually enable it, confirming that I have received payment. But we've enabled the order processor. We've also set up the server, and we've set up the payment gateway. Now that we've set up the product, we're ready to actually go and purchase the product. So let's just go to my domain/members, where I installed it to. We'll choose order. Also, back in the settings of Client Exec, you are able to set if somebody's able to link to a product, so that you could create your own setup page, your own kind of welcome to your company page, and then the checkout or the sign up or the buy now button takes them to this particular product. So here in let's order shared web hosting. Choose a product, we choose front page. Just continue. The domain name, Bluehost-resold. So we'll choose example.com, example/transfer.com. We'll continue. And now I just need to fill out the information the customer will be using. So we'll say Jacob. Email address. number, and then they need to fill out the CAPTCHA. You should be able to dig around in client exec and be able to disable this, but it definitely helps cut back on the amount of spam signups that you have, especially if you're doing like I am, where you allow for checks. Complete the order. So the order is complete. Congratulations, it's now gone through. Let's go back into client exec. Look at our pending orders. And here's this pending order, so they would just need to activate the account. Or you would activate the account as this is a pending order because it was paid with a check. So it'll take a few minutes for that to be created. And then once it's done, you'll see it'll show up under your list accounts. So this is what I wanted to show you today. I'm really grateful that you attended. I'm going to take the next few minutes and answer some of the questions that came in. So if you have any more, feel free to ask those, and I will answer those in just the order they come in. Again, thank you so much for attending. If you're going to go ahead and leave now, and I really, again, appreciate your participation. Feel free to use the feedback tab in your control panel to leave feedback about how we're doing as a company and products you would like to see. And then when you end the session for the webinar and you go ahead and exit, feel free to leave feedback on how we're doing with our webinars as well. So again, thanks you for attending. Have a great day. We're now going to talk about the different questions that have been coming in during the webinar.